How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, May 22nd, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, now that the 2020-2021 NBA season is officially over as of yesterday, especially with all the play-in games, all of the 16 teams for the playoffs have been selected. Without further ado, I'm going to give a preview for this round, as I do with every round for the NBA playoffs. But for this, I'm just going to give a little bit of context as to how all of these teams got here and what to look forward to in the days ahead, as we inch through the NBA playoffs round by round, game by game. If you're unfamiliar with how the NBA playoff system, how the playoff format works, you have the top 8 seeds in both the Eastern and the Western Conference, and they play. Well, and then just in a sense, the number 1 team plays against the 8 team, where the best team that qualified for the playoffs plays out for the worst. The second seed plays the 7th seed. Third seed plays the 6th seed, and the 4th seed plays the 5 seed. And because this game is the series is measured out of best of 7. The first team that wins 4 games will be the team that advances, and the team that has the higher seed, if the series goes to 7 games, the team with the higher seed will have 4 home games compared to the other team's 3, which is why it's more of an advantage to finish with a better record in the regular season. So looking at to how all these teams got there, starting with the Eastern Conference, or just to see how those teams went out there, or the top seed in the Eastern Conference went to the Philadelphia 76ers. They finished with a 49-23 record after being, of course, led by Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, along with an amazing deep team. They're going to face off against the Washington Wizards. The Wizards made it here after initially losing to the Boston Celtics in the first game, but then they beat the Pacers in the second play-in game to make it here. The first matchup between the Sixers and the Wizards will take place tomorrow, on May 23rd at 1 o'clock on TNT, and it'll go from there as the first 2 games will be played in Philadelphia. The second best record in the Eastern Conference went to the Brooklyn Nets. They finished with a 48-24 record, of course, with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving being active and inactive for various games, being kind of unpredictable with it. But the fact that they were able to still put together this incredible season just shows how deep this team is. Their first match will be against the 7 seed Boston Celtics, who made it into the 7th seed after initially beating the Washington Wizards in the 7th seed game. Their first matchup will take place today at 8 o'clock on ABC, and a lot of eyes are going to be on that game. The Celtics playing without Jaylen Brown, but they still have their elite point guard Kemba Walker and their elite shooting guard, their elite small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum. And of course, the Nets have their big 3, possibly one of the best big 3s ever created in the history of basketball, but that'll be a matchup a lot of people are watching. And following them, the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference went to the Milwaukee Bucks, who went on winning their division after finishing with a 46-26 record. They would, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning back-to-back MVP, leading the way. Of course, this team looked a lot stronger this year than it did in past years. And in their first matchup, they're going to face off against the 6th seed Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, they were actually the team that beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round the year before. This is right when Giannis got hurt, and the Bucks were a team that the Heat beat on the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. So there's going to be a lot of, not bad blood, but it's going to be a very interesting rivalry that's going to unfold. The first matchup will be today on ESPN at 2 o'clock in Milwaukee. That's where the first 2 games are. And then jumping out to the last series in the East, the 4 seed New York Knicks are going to host the 5 seed Atlanta Hawks after both teams finished with the same record, but the Knicks won the head-to-head matchup. Of course, this will be a heavily anticipated matchup. This is the first time the Hawks have made the playoffs in about half a decade. And then the New York Knicks, this is the first time they made the playoffs in about 8 years-ish. Both teams riding off of the success of their younger impact players, Julius Randle versus Trae Young, with a lot of other young pieces involved. This will be a very interesting matchup, but we'll see how this matchup goes from there. And then as these matchups, as they continue, it seems as though the winner of the 4-5 series between the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks will play against the winner between the first seed Philadelphia 76ers and the 8 seed Washington Wizards. And then the winner of the 2 seed the winner of the series between the 2 seed Brooklyn Nets and the 7 seed Boston Celtics will play against the winner of the 3-6 matchup between the Bucks and the Heat, and so on. That's what the Eastern Conference is looking like as we preview this round. And then looking at what the Western Conference is looking like starting from the top. The best record in the West went to the Utah Jazz, who finished with the NBA's best record. They had a 52-20 record. And with this, they are able to face off against the 8th seed Memphis Grizzlies after the Grizzlies beat out the Warriors, who initially had the 8th best regular season record, but the Warriors lost to the Lakers and then the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were the only team outside of the top 8 to ever finish a regular season to make the playoffs. So that's history there. So that'll be a highly anticipated matchup, the first of which will happen tomorrow at 9:30. It'll be the last game one to take off, as the first game will be in Salt Lake City. The second matchup the second best record in the Western Conference in the NBA went to the Phoenix Suns. They finished with a 51-21 record, of course, being led by Chris Paul and Devin Booker, alongside a much deeper team and possible Coach of the Year candidate Monty Williams. With this win, they're going to face off against the 7 seed Los Angeles Lakers after the Lakers beat the Golden State Warriors off of a last-second shot from LeBron James. This is the first time, I think, in forever that a 7 seed has ever been favored over a 2 seed going into a playoff series. But, of course, many people are looking forward to it. The first game of these will happen tomorrow at 3:30 on ABC. So as the Phoenix Suns have home court advantage for this round going forward. The 3rd seed in the West went to the Denver Nuggets, who finished with a 47-25 record. That was the same record as the Clippers, but the Nuggets won the head-to-head. So the Nuggets will be facing off against the 6th seed Portland Trail Blazers. Blazers making it here after their point guard Damian Lillard averaged nearly 30 a game. Nuggets with Nikola Jokic possibly putting up an MVP season. Nonetheless, the first matchup between these two will happen at 10:30 on ESPN tonight. And then the last matchup that's happening in the Western Conference will be the 4-5 matchup between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks, which I believe is a rematch of the first round from last year when the Clippers were a 3 seed and the Mavericks were a 6 seed. Regardless, Luka Doncic is going to get a second crack at the LA Clippers in the playoffs, the first matchup of which is happening in Staples Center at 4:30 today on ESPN. So that's virtually what's going on with these basketball series as we move forward. The winner of the series between the number 1 seed Jazz and the 8 seed Grizzlies will face off against the winner between the 4 seed Clippers and the 5 seed Mavericks, and then correspondingly, the winner of the series between the 2 seed Suns and 7 seed Lakers will face off against the winner between the 3 seed Denver Nuggets and 6 seed Portland Trail Blazers. That is what the NBA playoffs are looking like for the first round as we start it today, and as we navigate through the playoffs. I'm gonna do another preview of the second round as we get there. But until then, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 8 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch you tomorrow with another episode of The Elite. Thanks once again for listening to my piece, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.